Oh man. Oh, hey, welcome to Tangible Takeaways. I'm here with Tim today. We're gonna be cooking some yummy food. It's all in this episode. So hang out here. It's gonna be a good time. All that and more on this episode of Tangible Takeaways. Welcome to episode 81 of Tangible Takeaways. I'm here today with Tim, and I don't feel like I dressed properly for this. I am so excited. Tim, what is the name of this dish that we're going to be making?
So we are making a super fast, super easy sausage tagliatelle. You know, as a pastor, you kind of have a crazy schedule, and sometimes, you know, you can only have so much del taco. And so it's a great recipe to be able to throw together in like 15, 20 minutes.
Real quick.
Real super
I
quick.
love it. Okay, so if somebody's cooking along with us today, what do they need to have?
All right, first off, you need to have pasta. This is tagliatelle. You can use fettuccine, you can use spaghetti, pretty much any sort of long pasta you can get.
Want it to be long.
Want it to be long,
Okay.
Yep. You need cherry tomatoes, diced cherry tomatoes. You dice them up like this. Also very important to do cherry tomatoes. I think you can use canned tomatoes. My wife would say otherwise, but the cherry tomato is a good way to go.
Highly, highly preferred.
Highly preferred.
Yes.
Some diced up onion, some diced up garlic.
Nice.
Obviously, Parmesan cheese, always a good thing.
Yes.
And then this right here, you need some Italian sausage. This sausage in particular was a friend of mine, the pig that we raised from a piglet over at the Beardsley farm.
Wow.
I got to scratch his back. I got to pat him on the back. And today he's gonna scratch our bellies and pat us on the inside of our stomach. So
what was his name?
Abraham Bacon. Abraham Bacon.
I like it.
It's
wow.
good stuff.
So this is personal.
This is personal.
I feel honored.
You're gonna feel warmed up by the love of this pig. He was a good pig.
This is as like family type of a vibe of a meal that I think we could get.
Oh, it's great. It's
down.
fantastic.
Okay, so that's what we need.
That's what we need.
What is, obviously we've pre-cut everything.
Yes.
We've got some water boiling back
Got some
here.
water rolling, good
What's
to go.
step one?
Step one, so you got the water boiling. So first thing you wanna do is get your pan over here nice and hot with some olive oil. Not too hot so it burns the oil. So we're gonna pour this in there, maybe just like a teaspoon or two of olive oil.
Even just the eyeballing with confidence is giving me so much confidence that Tim knows what he's doing.
Let that heat up. With the olive oil, you'll see it's still kind of sludgy. Once it gets super kind of runny, that's when you know you're good to go.
Okay.
And the first thing you're gonna get is you're gonna get your onions, which
We want those ready to go.
We want those ready to go. So as soon as you see this oil heat up good, you wanna put it in. And you kinda want your pan a little hot, maybe not too hot. So one thing I like to do is, you hear the sizzle?
Ooh.
You're good.
That's the
onion
test
in
right there. This is about to start smelling real good.
Start smelling real good. So you want to stir those around.
Okay.
Make sure your heat's not too high so you burn the onion, because nobody likes a burnt onion. So you stir that around.
You want me to keep them moving? I can keep them moving.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stir that around, keep it moving.
I'm so excited.
You over here.
Uh-huh.
Good way if you want to do it, if you notice it's kind of clumping up, just grab the handle right here.
Okay.
Just give it a little shake.
Oh, this isn't gonna burn me.
No, as long as it's not above an open flame,
Okay, I'm gonna be good.
You're good to go.
Okay.
Yeah, so stir that up. We might add a tiny bit more of olive oil if it's looking like it's getting a little absorbed up.
This is like the kind of task that my wife lets me do at home.
Just stir up the thing.
Yes. She's like, could you just make sure this doesn't burn? And I'm like, I'll try my best.
All right, so one thing you want to do is just kind of make sure they're getting translucent. We might bring the heat down just a little bit. So right here's your little heat gauge, so just bring that down. Yeah, turn it, there you go. Right there's great.
I feel like I just saw it grow.
Okay,
there we go.
Perfect, right
now
there's
we're going
good.
down.
Next thing you want to do, add garlic. All your minced garlic right there. Start smelling those aromatics.
Wow, I definitely am feeling Italian
Now with the
vibes
garlic,
here.
maybe grab the pan right here and give it a little
toss
shake up again.
Okay.
Now next thing we're gonna do while that's browning is we're gonna add in our pasta.
Okay.
And so the nice thing about these tagliatelles is they come in these little nests.
Oh,
And
very
so you
convenient.
just kind of
Just
pour
drop
that.
them in. Now, are those
there.
gonna kind of open up there in the water?
Yeah, so they'll open up, give us a nice little pasta vibe. I'm actually gonna grab one of these spoons right here, and then just give it a little nice stir up right there.
Obviously want them all submerged, yeah.
We're gonna feed our cameraman here as well, so I'm gonna add in a couple more.
He's a hungry guy.
He's a hungry man. We gotta keep him fed. So you'll wanna let these go for about 5 to 7 minutes. And so
The tagliatelles?
what we'll do, set a timer for 7 minutes. Let's see if it'll work. Set a timer for 7 minutes. Boom.
Very convenient.
Good to go. Next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna grab our sausage right here.
Oh.
I thought I had some scissors, but you know what? We're gonna grab a knife.
Convenient.
And slice it open.
Wow.
There you go. And we're gonna pour the sausage.
And am I wanting to kind of chop this up in
Chop
here?
it up, yeah.
Okay.
Just like you would a ground beef, chop that bad boy up.
Wow. Am I like butchering the technique here?
Nope,
or is
that's great.
This is pretty much the vibe.
It's like regular pork sauce or regular hamburger pretty much. So you kind of want that like ground beef, you know, hamburger. You've done Hamburger Helper? Yeah, Hamburger Helper vibe all the way.
Tim's like, you seem like a Hamburger Helper kind of a guy.
Hey, I love me some Hamburger Helper.
Like you said, you need that quick, you're in a pinch,
Oh yeah,
you know, type of thing.
it's good. Every now and then too, you'll want to, where'd my spoon go? Just stir the pasta to make sure it's not getting clumped together.
What am I going to notice about this sausage, Tim, that is different from not homegrown sausage?
You mean from store-bought sausage?
Yeah.
You'll feel love.
Love. That'll be the primary component.
No, but actually it does have a different flavor. So like if you have like a pork chop from this pig as compared to a pork chop from another pig, there's a distinct flavor that's there. I don't know how to describe it, but it just has almost more of a richness to it.
Okay.
As opposed to just a regular thing. Yeah.
Just because it hasn't
Just
been
get all in there.
Just because it hasn't been processed.
Yeah. One way you can do it if you're feeling nervous about getting real rough with it, grab the thing right there, because then you can have a good hand on it.
And just start going to town.
Start going to town, getting this thing nice and browned up. So you'll want to do the sausage like this, get it nice and browned up. Nobody likes undercooked food. You can bank on that. Food poisoning is the real thing.
It's bad. And is there like a size that you're looking for in these chunks?
No, you can just go like this because pretty much it's going to be all throughout the pasta right here. So get that all nice and good.
I mean, how can you not love a little bit of sausage mixed up with garlic and onions? That's just a...
You add some potato to this right here.
Yeah.
Ooh, you'd have a good little breakfast
just a humdinger
hash going on, which no one would...
Nobody would complain about.
Nobody complain about. So you got that rocking. It's okay if something falls off, you just toss it off to the side.
Not my house.
You're good to go. Hashtag not my house. My wife would kill me if I did that at home.
Don't worry, we only got it on video.
There we go. That's great. So yeah, just make sure, we're gonna turn up that heat just a little bit to get this rolling faster. Yeah, once you get the sausage in there, you can turn up the heat a little bit because you want that brown going.
Okay.
The main thing is you just didn't want to burn the... Here, I'm taking all the fun.
All right.
From
No,
you.
you're fine.
You can do it. You still
You helped me out. I was...
See how much easier it is now that you're holding the handle and doing that? Makes it so much...
Vibes.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, okay. I'm feeling the vibes now.
It's got a little...
I feel like, you know, I'm however many weeks deep now, like 5 weeks deep into this. I feel like I'm getting a lot better from my peanut butter ganache days till now. Things have changed quite a bit.
You know what's hilarious? We were talking about that peanut butter ganache, and that was a childhood snack I had for the longest time. I would have it for breakfast, I'd have it for a snack.
So you felt seen right there.
I felt seen, I felt great. It was fantastic. All right, next thing you want to do, take these cherry tomatoes, dump them on in. Now you may be saying to yourself, Tim, it's so weird you're just putting raw cherry tomatoes in there. It just seems rather interesting.
I am thinking that. That looks like an odd combination here with everything else.
Trust me, it gets better. It gets good. All right, so get that all mixed up. All good. All right, now put the pan over here. This is kind of the secret thing. You're gonna take this pasta water, you're gonna go 1.
Whoa.
Then you're gonna go 2, and put it back on the heat.
Is this in the recipe?
It is in the recipe.
Okay, it is in the recipe.
So one of the reasons why you do that is because pasta naturally has starch. And
Okay.
one of the things you're looking for in this dish right here is you're wanting almost like a thickness to it, because this is basically gonna be our pasta sauce.
Okay.
Is what it's gonna be. So the starch is gonna thicken up all the juices that are right there. You can probably just let it simmer now. So
Okay.
like do that little shaky thing really quick. There you go, get it like that.
Gliding now.
And just let it roll. So that'll cook up the tomatoes. The tomatoes naturally release their, here, bring the spoon.
Oh.
Tomatoes are naturally gonna release that moisture and all that content that's
Okay.
in it. It's gonna make a nice little sauce.
Okay.
So you'll let that
So
go.
a quick sauce, you know?
Quick sauce, yeah, quick sauce. So that is, water-wise, it's looking good. You notice how, like I said, you put water in there, you're like, that's really weird, but as you can tell, the water is already kind of evaporating and turning more into like a sauce rather than a water.
Yeah, it's already not looking like it's watery. It's looking like there's some good juices going on in there. And I'm seeing some of the tomatoes kind of start to shrivel up a little
Starting
bit.
to shrivel up, that's a good sign. That's something you want. So you're just gonna kind of stir it up, and then maybe let this, here, I'll give you that again. Okay. Let this simmer a little bit so you'll bring the heat down. Just kind of give it a nice little stewing, a nice little,
And what are you looking for as you let it simmer?
just looking for it to look like it's cooking. So those tomatoes, again, like
looking
you said,
for
they're
that
starting to shrivel up, get a little softer. You can maybe stir it up a little bit again. And just get that nice sauce consistency. Now we might have put a little too much sausage in here, but you know, being men,
We were excited.
we're excited.
We
'cause
saw the
more meat the
opportunity
merrier,
for
right?
sausage, and
That's exactly right.
got a little excited there.
It's fantastic. Where are we at on our timer? We are, let's see here.
The beauty of technology. You got
Beauty
a
of
timer right there on
technology.
your wrist.
Yes, sir. But we're gonna just kind of test this out really quick with a little.
So many tongs to choose from.
So many options, so many things to choose from. All right, the fact that it broke apart.
Good sign or bad sign?
Or a good sign. Oh, maybe one more minute.
Okay.
Oh, our timer's done actually. So we're gonna pull it out at 53. So just let that go. Maybe stir that up a little bit just to make sure those tomatoes are getting nice and incorporated. Oh, and I almost forgot an important detail. Salt and pepper.
Oh, okay.
So add a little bit of salt in there.
And are you just eyeballing this
Just
here?
eyeballing. So one thing that's important to know, you can always add more salt. You
So
cannot
true.
take away salt.
So true.
always be hesitant on the salt. If it needs a little bit more salt, always taste it to see if it needs salt, because
Wow, these tomatoes have gotten significantly softer
it's
here
kind of
now.
coming together now, right?
Huh?
All right, so we are going to take the pasta now, and we are going to strain it over here.
I'll hold down the fort.
Hold down the fork.
I hope I don't mess anything up while Tim's away. But I am seeing some saucy vibes over here.
Is it turning saucy?
Uh-huh. It's like getting it's a little bit more brown now.
Mm-hmm. Yep, see how it's kind of that red right there?
You got that
It's great.
red coming in from the tomatoes. Very nice.
So then you strain your pasta. We're just gonna dump that right back in.
Beautiful. That looks like some good pasta right there.
Some really good pasta. This
Now,
stuff
Tim,
is
as I've
delicious.
known you, I would call you a foodie. You enjoy food quite a bit.
I love food. God's greatest gift to mankind.
What was kind of the beginning of that? Like, were you as a kid like just loved food the whole time, or was there like a
So
starting
as a
point?
kid, I was not that big of, I loved food, but I never really like cooked.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I started working at a restaurant. I worked there for 10 years. that I kind of learned all this stuff.
And what restaurant? Tell the people.
Original Roadhouse Grill. So shout out to the old school
Wow,
folk.
the OG.
The OGs, yep.
Texas Roadhouse can try, but it's not the original.
It's not the original, that's right. But yeah, so started cooking with that, and then it just kind of became a hobby for my wife and I. And so we would just try out different things. We try out, you know, beef Wellingtons, raviolis, stuff like that. I'm a huge Traeger guy, and so I love barbecue.
Smoking the meat.
Smoking the meat. I love smoking a pork butt and then literally using it in everything. So I'll make homemade smoked mac and cheese that I'll throw the pork in and mix it up with that. That's a good dish. The Blackstone's a new thing I'm trying out, and that is like a game changer because you can just go outside, cook it up on the griddle top, no cleanup.
Boom.
Boom.
Yeah.
Done. Yep.
That is, that's a pretty, I think, an interesting side of you that maybe not a lot of people would have known about you.
Yeah, I love to cook. It's actually one of my hobbies. So anytime I have a day off that I'm not in the office,
you're cooking.
I'm cooking. Yep. My wife gets a 3-day.
It's not an exhausting thing for you.
It's not. It's a joyful thing.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. I love
cool.
it. It's so
I like
much
that.
fun. All right, so this is looking good. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn it off.
Great.
We're gonna shake it up a little bit. And I think what I'm going to do, you can do one of two things. You can either pour the pasta into the pan and stir it up that way. The easier way is just to take it,
throw it in.
Just dump it on in. Yeah, scrape out all that good stuff. See all that?
Come with us.
I'm gonna scrape that. Oop, it's okay. We can clean after. Always remember that, you can clean after. All right, that's looking good. Next thing you want to do is take some tongs and just start incorporating. Let me grab some oven mitts so I don't burn my hand here. Just take the tongs. Again, you can always hold the pan, it gives you stability. And just stir it up. Incorporate all that yummy goodness into the pasta. Fun fact, by the way, when I first got married, didn't mix my sauces in with pasta. I always put the pasta on the bottom, sauce on top.
Sauce on top.
I was very wrong. I learned that from my wife, and I learned that in Italy, is that if you want the pasta to incorporate that flavor, you want the pasta mixed in with the sauce.
Interesting. Not just like throw some sauce on top.
Not just throw it in, because pasta is a sponge. It takes on any flavor you incorporate it to. And so as I'm stirring this around, you're getting all that flavor on the
mixing
in the pasta.
Into the pasta.
That's exactly right. And so let's do this. Make sure it's nice incorporated, because you want to make sure you don't get just plain Jane.
You guys have no idea, but this is the perfect time of the day to be doing this. It's lunchtime.
Lunchtime, baby. That's exactly right.
This is, we should just do this on the regular for lunch.
That's great. And we made enough for Tanner too.
Yeah.
So Tanner can have some as well. So that's great. All right. I think that is good.
Boom.
Boom.
That looks,
sizzle.
very good.
So let's grab some plates here.
You gotta love this. Paper plates.
Paper plates.
Elegant dish, but
hey, you know what?
plates.
I'm a proponent of the paper plates, because guess what? You don't have
no cleanup.
Dishes. You don't have dishes.
I mean, we gotta clean all this up anyway, so
it's like the same thing. All right, so
why add to it?
Just put that right there. Put a little bit right there.
Wow.
Want to make sure you get some of that meat and tomato goodness.
I was skeptical because I was like, "Where's the sauce, Tim?" Like, I know pasta. Where's the sauce? But this is looking like it's got everything you need in a pasta.
We're vibing. We're good, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Maybe do a little bit. How hungry are you?
I mean, I'm gonna eat.
All right.
This. I'm very excited.
So we're gonna come back over here.
Wow.
And finishing touches for any pasta dish.
This adds the real Italian element.
This adds the swag, right? Just a little freshly grated Parmesan. So the difference between pre-grated Parmesan,
they say just say when.
Just say when. That's exactly right. And the more, the merrier.
Wow.
And there.
That's a dish right there. Bon appetit.
Try it out for us.
Okay.
Tell us how you like it.
All right.
Don't be bashful.
I am so excited for this. Okay, let me make sure I get.
Here's your salt in case we didn't salt it enough too.
Let me make sure I get everything incorporated in here.
It's a little caliente, as my people like to say. Yeah, I probably want to blow on that. little more salt.
That's real good.
That's good stuff.
Uh-huh. You got that fresh Parmesan on there. I mean, come on.
Homemade sausage, fresh tomato. All these ingredients are 100% fresh. I didn't grow the tomatoes, obviously, but they're
I
all
wasn't gonna put it past you.
100%.
I was gonna say you could have grown the tomatoes.
You know what? I've tried growing tomatoes, and those dang tomato worms are the bane of my existence. They just eat my tomatoes.
Yep.
It is not cool. A little bit of salty right there.
You got that cheese starting to melt.
I bet Tanner's getting hungry.
Tanner, don't be shy. Come get a dish. You're good.
All right, moment of truth, right?
Wow.
Pretty good. Not just saying that.
Yeah, I'm gonna put that in the category of bussin'.
Oh yeah,
That's good.
that's good.
I'll tell you, it's better than what I eat for lunch on the regular at work. So it's not a peanut butter and jelly.
I was about to say, I've seen
is,
your wife's cooking that you've eaten before,
No,
though,
no, no.
and that looks pretty legit.
She's pretty good. You
Yeah.
know, she is also a foodie.
This is good.
Tell me this, Tim, as a foodie, as we've been digging into this series looking at Jesus plus food,
Yeah.
what kind of has stood out to you about that connection as somebody who has such an appreciation for food and all of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, you know, I think that good conversation happens the most a lot of times with meals. And we see that with Jesus. A lot of the conversations he had, a lot of the interactions that he had were with meals. And back in, you know, ancient Israel, that was a huge aspect of it, were the feasts and the meals. And so there's a lot of symbolism that is there along with it too.
Yeah.
And so especially being a pastor, one of the things I love and my wife loves too is getting to invite people over for meals or getting to share meals with others, because that's honestly where a lot of the conversation comes out of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting aspect to that too, that nobody's mentioned so far really in this series, is the significance of food and festival in the Old Testament as well. So it's not like, it shouldn't be shocking or surprising or new for us that Jesus would utilize a meal, because that's exactly what God has been doing all through the Old Testament.
That's exactly right. I mean, you look at, you know, even from an end times eschatological, I think is what you say, aspect of it, and you have the great banquet like we talked about a couple weeks ago, and just the significance of that. So meals are something that, you know, has been around, you know, since creation. God created that and made that. And so I think it's a great opportunity that we get to share with each other too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. And what would you know, reflecting on Pastor Tom's message this weekend, what was maybe something that stood out to you about it? I thought, you know, it was so interesting talking about that Last Supper, because did you go to the Seder experience on Friday?
Unfortunately, wasn't able to, It sold out so fast, I missed out on a ticket.
It did. The Seder was such a cool thing that, like, a good amount of people at our church had just done, you know, just a couple days prior to hearing Pastor Tom's message. So it's such a cool experience to mix together.
You have that Passover element that's there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so what were some of the things maybe that stood out to you from his message this last weekend?
I think the biggest thing that stood out to me was even just that idea of Jesus as king. And I love that he mentioned you love him as the shepherd, you love him as the person taking care of him, but what do you make of him and his kingship, that it's King Jesus? I even think of that song, All Hail King Jesus, and there's just a weight to that. So in fact, we think of, you know, Jesus as this, you know, loving person, which he was very loving, very humble, very shepherding, but he's also king. He's also God. And so I love that Pastor Tom's reminding us, like, as he is king, as he is our king, we as his people are to have a respect for him, are to worship him and to elevate him to that position even in our lives. And I think even the Old Testament, that was Israel's biggest downfall, is they wanted a human king, and God's up there saying, like, no, I'm your king. I am the King of Kings. But it never fails. Every single time in our lives, we're always looking for that next thing to be the ruler of our lives and the king of our lives. And it's so true. We have so pacified the person of Jesus. We've kind of robbed him of all of this authority and made him just kind of this great caring guy, you know? And so we love all the shepherding aspects, but even shepherding is authoritative. And
especially being a king, is
Yeah.
authoritative. And so I think that, there is such that element to Jesus of he does have that gentleness. He does have that kindness and that grace and compassion and mercy for us. But at the same time, he's in authority, and he doesn't mess around with being disrespected or disregarded as anything other than that.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was such a great connection that Pastor Tom made, that you experience his shepherding, his grace, his kindness, his nearness when you recognize him as an authority.
Exactly.
Like he is that to the people of his kingdom. But if you're not going to submit to him like a king, then you're not operating within his kingdom.
Yeah. And you're missing, as Pastor Tom said, like the biggest benefit and one of the biggest like pluses of being part of his kingdom and part of his family is having that shepherd figure that, like you're saying, is soft, but yet has that authority and even that protectiveness of a shepherd that's there. A shepherd, guides his sheep, moves along the sheep, but he kills off the wolves. He kills the bears. He kills anything that tries to take the life of any of his sheep. And that's the same thing that Jesus does too.
Yeah, that's so true.
As far as the enemy goes.
Yeah. And then there's even that corrective element.
Yeah.
With other sheep as well. And sorry, I got caught in the middle of a delicious bite there.
You're good, dude. No worries.
And the other thing that I thought was a great point about this message is that the Last Supper, this institution of communion, it's supposed to be a memorial, and we're supposed to be reminded about the way that God wants us to consume him.
Yeah.
His presence, his kingdom, but also be reminded about the significance of that sacrifice. So, this episode's coming at a timely point here where we're right here in the middle of Holy
Getting ready
Week.
for Easter, yeah.
So my question on the more practical side for tangible takeaways would be, how for somebody listening today, can they kind of approach Holy Week? This will come out on Wednesday. So you've really just got Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. How can they approach this remainder here of Holy Week and remember and let it move them and change them?
Yeah.
What are maybe some practical things that they could do?
Yeah, I know one of the things my family and I go through is we read the Holy Week narrative in the Bible. So you're talking about like Luke, the early, the later chapters, John, the early chapters, and we go day by day and just reflect on what's happening. So, this is coming out on a Wednesday, so it'd be right before the Passover meal that he has, right before what Pastor Tom talked about. And so even just talking about like, what do you think Jesus felt on Wednesday? Before he's going to that Passover, he knows he's going to begin this journey. I mean, Pastor Tom talked about it, or maybe I read it in scripture yesterday, but the Greeks wanted to know who Jesus was in Luke and saying, who is this person that is here? And it was like the indication of Jesus, like, all right, the time has come. So even feeling the weight that is there, but still having the expectation or the anticipation of what is to come as well. And I love what Pastor Tom said in his message, even talking about Passover related to the monuments that the Israelites made when they crossed the Jordan or they crossed the river to go to the Promised Land. And the Passover or the Lord's Supper can kind of be that same like monument there to help us remember what Jesus did for us.
Yeah.
And so just really kind of camping and feeling the weight of that. And I do believe the more you feel the weight of the crucifixion of Jesus, man, the more joy you have going into Sunday, going into the resurrection, of knowing like, dang, he conquered sin and death, like something we've never seen anyone else do, or will never see anyone else do. It's just an amazing thing to be able to experience.
Yeah. I love that idea of reading, like read the actual story.
Yeah.
And I think about, man, a great thing to read this week would be that, John 14 to 17 section where it's after he kicks Judas out. And then you have this really like, this is the heart of Jesus for post-resurrection Jesus life, right? When I'm going to leave you, this is the stuff that you need to know.
And the promised Holy Spirit.
Yeah. And I think
you will not be alone.
that is so our season that we're in.
Yeah.
We are in this post-resurrection, awaiting his return, depending on the Spirit day by day. And so, man, read that this week. That is a great section to dig in and say, what are the promises? What are the things that I need to be reminded of that are so true for me as a disciple of Jesus
Exactly.
in this season?
Yeah.
And my other thought, my other encouragement for people would be, I find myself trying to add meaning or value to Good Friday by really individualizing it. Like, this is for me, this is for me, this is for me. I think that the most meaning that we find in Good Friday or so many other elements of our faith is actually where you zoom out and you find just how unimportant you are, and he still picked you.
Yep.
And he still died for you.
Yep.
And so when you zoom out and you look at, you remind yourself of all these great saints of church history that he died for, who are so much holier than we are. And then the fact that you zoom out even further and he's got his special people of Israel, but he's opened it up to all of the people who aren't Jewish.
Yeah.
And that's us. And we get to take that beautiful news that we weren't even entered into the race. We weren't even attempting to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And he's welcomed us in. And we weren't seeking him, but he sought us. And so when you start zooming that out, I think there's just so much meaning and significance when I recognize on Good Friday, when I recognize on Easter that I'm actually relatively insignificant.
And that he brought you into that.
Yeah.
Not only because, you wanted to be, but he desired that.
Yeah. So I think, I think it's well-intentioned to try to internalize and try to make it about me. But I would just encourage some people, maybe it would be a good time over this week to zoom out and make it not about you.
Yeah.
So that you could see just how small you are in the story and why that makes it so significant.
That much more
still,
powerful.
Yeah. Still picked you.
That's great.
Yeah. So, man, Tim, thank you. I'm waiting to get off camera so I can eat all of this and stuff my face. Because I have to eat a respectable amount on camera, but I'm going to stuff my face.
Oh, you're good.
Thanks for joining us this week on Tangible Takeaways, and thanks for taking the time, Tim.
My pleasure. Always a pleasure to share a meal and to cook too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, don't forget to like the video, subscribe so that you get future videos, and maybe share this video with a friend. But that's all we have for this week on Tangible Takeaways. We'll catch you guys next week.